Hello and good afternoon, Xbox Nation. What a week for Xbox. There is literally so much news. There's so much going on. And guess what, folks? We have a pair of Xbox handhelds out in the wild. I've been using mine to great degree. You have Keeper, which is really just one of the most mind-blowing experiences from Xbox first party in a very long time. It just goes to show you that when you allow for a studio like Double Fine and Tim Schafer to just do what they do, this is what you get, folks. Obviously, Keeper came out on Friday. Again, it's a short experience, between 5 and 8 hours. But so far, what I've experienced has been just mesmerizing. It just is gorgeous to look at, and there's not a single word mentioned within the game. I'm only 2 hours in. We'll talk about it a little bit more with Jamie and when Umbra gets here. Ninja Gaiden available as of 7 p.m. yesterday, I believe the embargo was. We're going to talk a little bit about it. I have thoughts, ladies and gentlemen. I have a it's going to be a review in progress. I am reviewing 3 games at once. I just do not have the bandwidth to have all of them done. Literally, all the games came at once. Keeper I bought myself. I didn't get that from Xbox, but I did get Ninja Gaiden 4 and The Outer Worlds 2. So I have focused all my effort into The Outer Worlds 2. We'll get into that. But Jamie Moran, how the heck are you feeling, sir? Welcome back.
Hey man, I'm happy to be here. It's been a good week, on playing Keeper at the minute. I have Ninja Gaiden downloading. Well, the download's paused till the podcast's finished, but plenty of gaming going on. And if anyone has anything to complain about when it comes to games at the minute, I don't know what to say. It's such a good time to be a gamer. You have handhelds out in the wild. There's new releases every few days. I can't complain.
Well, listen, for the next 75-ish minutes, Jamie and myself, we're gonna get into some really big news. Unfortunately, Umbra is down for the count. He's not feeling well today, long day at work, so he'll probably join us on Friday. But we do have a lot of topics to get into, Jamie, and I kind of want to start first with what we're playing. And why I want to start there is we're going to segue into a very big topic. And the topic that we're going to get into is why not only I believe that Xbox Game Studios should be Publisher of the Year, this original thought and post comes the way of Stallion83. Now, if you're not familiar with who he is the first Xbox gamer to have broken a million gamer score. This was years and years and years ago. He has been a big fan of Xbox. He recently bought himself a PlayStation 5, and he's enjoyed quite a few platinum. So he's a guy that completes these games, and obviously he has millions upon millions of achievement points. Well, he had put out a tweet that I thought was so well worded and so well done that I wanted to make it a topic, because I think that when I flash the games that have come out this year via Xbox Game Studios, which now includes Bethesda and, of course, Activision, they're all under one umbrella. It is a pretty incredible list, and I don't think, Jamie, that we have seen this many games from any one publisher. Might be gaming history. Again, we're gonna talk about it, but I have been playing, ladies and gentlemen, quite a few games. Over the weekend, I had a chance to really put the Xbox Ally X through its paces. And look, I'm going to be honest with you. For me personally, this is exactly what I wanted this machine to be and do, right? So let me just paint you a picture. Walk with me on this, folks. I know there's been a lot of talk about, well, this is not an Xbox. It's a PC. It's a handheld PC. It doesn't play all your games. Well, and again, this is coming from, I'm considering myself to be a PC noob, right? Like I don't do PC gaming. I understand it, but I don't like it, right? So what I wanted out of this device, I think, I really made abundantly clear in my unboxing video, which by the way has over 2,300 views. Thank you so much for checking it out. If you haven't checked it out, go see my excitement. It was a lot of fun to do that video, and that was a one shot, one take. I couldn't believe I actually got it done. But over the weekend, I get a chance to really spend a lot of time with Mrs. Boom, and we like watching film and we like watching our K dramas. We're very clear about that. At least I'm very clear about that. It's something that she enjoys, it's something that I enjoy, and it's something that we enjoy together. So when we are, in fact, watching these K dramas or watching a film or whatever, I like to have my Switch 2 or now the Xbox ROG, you know, sitting next to me. And what I was able to do seamlessly was play Keeper, continue my review on Ninja Gaiden 4 and The Outer Worlds 2. And what I loved about this was that it gave me the ability to go from the Xbox handheld to the TV, from the TV to the Xbox handheld seamlessly. So I got a chance to play these three games. And you know, the one that really took my breath away, Jamie, and I want to get your thoughts on this because you are, in fact, playing it, is Double Fine's Keeper. This is a game that came out. We didn't know for a long time what they were working on until we saw it, and we still had questions. You know, it's a walking lighthouse with a flying bird that rests on top of it. What are we doing here? And you know something? Almost from the start of the game, the minute you press start, and you're working the character to get its sea legs, so to speak, figuratively, it's like watching a moving painting. I don't know how else to describe it. Now, of course, there have been a lot of people that tried to downplay this thing. And look, I'm not going to stand for it. If you don't like the game because you don't like, walking simulators, that's one thing. I saw a lot of people running with well, it looks like an Xbox 360 game. I don't know what eyeballs you have. I know that I wear glasses and I can see clearly. This is far from an Xbox 360 game. But Jamie, I want to talk about just the week Xbox is having. I mean, if you just like try and put into perspective from Thursday of last week when you had the two devices released, the two Xbox handhelds release, right? They were reviewed pretty well. There are some people that wanted more. There are people that are gonna be disingenuous on their reviews. There are going to be people that are going to talk about a review and don't actually own the thing. We've seen a lot of that as well. But since then, you had Keeper on Friday. You had obviously the embargo, review embargo being lifted yesterday, and now Ninja Gaiden is available. Early access for The Outer Worlds, I believe, is Friday because it comes out officially on the 29th, if I'm not mistaken. But there is some day you can play before it. Xbox is having one heck of a week, and there's still Black Ops 7 around the corner. Jamie, first of all, let's get your thoughts on Keeper, and more importantly, the week that Xbox is having.
Yeah, Keeper, so far, I have to say I love it. It's a weird game to explain because you play it as a sentient lighthouse, which it definitely does sound like Tim Schafer was on something. Because you had to be to come up with that idea, and I just love the look of the game. It has this stop motion thing going on, which I really like. I have seen some people like say, "Oh, it's a lower budget, mid budget game." It's like I don't think people should really look at games like that like all the time. Like it's okay. I think it's okay for different kinds of games to come out. Like I don't need everything to be a super realistic, AAA open world blockbuster, action game. Like no, I like some variety. Hell, I talk about Flight Simulator all the time. Do you know what you do in that game? You
Nothing.
fly. That's all you do. Fly, land, take off, fly, land. That's literally it, right? So people can say you do nothing in that game. It looks gorgeous though, but like we could talk about that a different day. But like Keeper, unfortunately, I've only been able to play a couple of hours of it, but it's just good. It's relaxing. It's I think like the puzzles aren't really going to like confuse many people. I think it's just a super chill, relaxing adventure game about a lighthouse and a seabird. And the art style sticks out. It has that double fine charm to it. It kind of has this Pixar thing going on. And it reminds us of, before you'd see a Pixar movie, you'd have the Pixar short, like the talking volcano or something. Like, it reminds me of a Pixar short, which I really like. So I'm having a lot of fun with that. And the Xbox, they're having a good time at the minute. You'll have these detractors online. They'll like yell from a mountaintop like it's a 1980s Bon Jovi music video, like Xbox is dying, it's the end of the world. But if you look at Xbox from a games point of view and like the hardware that's out now, they're having a bloody good time. They stealth dropped an Oblivion remake this year. Ninja Gaiden 2 Black stealth drops.
Yes.
You get Gears of War Reloaded, even though it is Ultimate Edition and it's shiny 4K, but like they've had a long list of games come out this year. And if you could take anything away from Xbox in this year, you could say that they've had a bloody good lineup, right? They set out with a roadmap. Yes, some games got delayed, but even though they delayed one game, they were able to put out like 11 games, right? Just stupid. And they have Call of Duty coming out next month. Outer Worlds 2 is next week. And the ROG Ally devices causing people to lose their marbles because some people don't like it if you call them Xbox consoles or Xbox devices. But Xbox at the minute, despite what people want to say, they are actually on a roll. As I was talking to Boom about this before the show went live, if you make a video or live stream, podcast or whatever, and it's got like just a bunch of Xbox negative connotations in the title, you are guaranteed views. Almost guaranteed. Doesn't matter if this is on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, anything, right? But the truth is, Xbox is having a really good time at the minute. Video games and hardware. And what are we meant to be talking about when it comes to video games? The video games and the hardware, right? None of this, like, FUD about Xbox going away or Xbox quitting hardware, all that stuff. Like, no. We talk about this industry all the time because we love video games. And that's what Xbox has put out this year. A crap ton of video games. Big AAA games, sequels, remasters, remakes, new IP, the whole lot of it. And personally, I'm pretty satisfied with what I've had this year from Xbox. And there's still a few games coming out which I cannot wait for. Like, I'm one of the nerds that plays Call of Duty for the campaign.
Nothing wrong with that, dude.
And I can't wait for Black Ops 7. Outer Worlds 2, for people that maybe follow me, they know that I'm kind of a little bit obsessed with sci-fi, and I'm going to be all over the Outer Worlds 2. It looks fantastic. They knocked the first game out of the park, and this game looks even better. So, like, when it comes to Xbox at the minute, I really can't complain. The Game Pass stuff, we complained about that weeks ago. As of now, I'm so happy that Xbox is at a point where they don't have to do this thing where, and everyone listening knows this, we used to hear this term every year called wait till E3. Because Xbox would announce every single game they had coming that year at E3. So we would wait to E3, they'd go, hey, this game's coming out this holiday. And we'd get like 3 games, 2 games, or 1 game in the holiday. And then we'd have to wait till E3 for the next lot of games. But Xbox is at this point now where they have to announce first-party games multiple times a year, which is bloody good because there's always something to talk about. Needless to say, we don't really have anything to run out of talking about when it comes to Xbox. But like when it comes to the games this year, they've absolutely nailed it.
Yeah, I listen. I saw a lot of people talking about there. Like, for instance, Wade Johnson once says, my backlog is ridiculous. And you're not lying, Wade Johnson. It's to a point where, like, for instance, my particular situation. So I don't have an official review of the Xbox Ally X. I don't. I did an unboxing of everything that I bought. I will eventually do a review. I may even do at some point, once I get really a good, working on it, sort of a feel, I may do like an AMA. You know what? It's funny. I didn't even make mention of this, and I'm glad I thought about it. So tomorrow is obviously Wednesday. Wednesdays, we have the late show, which is primetime gaming. in the evening, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That show is happening. I am going to do at noon a Ninja Gaiden 4 live review, and make it an AMA. Ask me anything. It's only going to run about 40 minutes, give or take. I always say that when it winds up being an hour. So I could really, give you my detailed thoughts of what the game is for me personally. We lost Jamie. The highs and lows of the game. So we will get Jamie back here, hopefully in a second. Let me just get that screen out of there. All right. So as we await for Jamie to return, hopefully he does. Otherwise, I'll have to just hang out solo. It's fine. I kind of want to just, here he is. Let's get Jamie back in this. Jamie, I don't know what happened, brother. We lost you, and well, you're back. So good on you, man. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. Just
all right. So listen, you're back. So look, chat. What I want to do is obviously, with me playing 3 games at once it's a lot, honestly. Between all the content that we did last week, the unboxing video, which thank God I don't know how I did it in one take, and of course reviewing both reviewing Keeper, The Outer Worlds 2, Ninja Gaiden. There's a lot of games to be played. So when you hear people like Wade Johnson talk about backlogs, trust me, I know, because I bought a lot of games, and there were games. I don't know if anybody took advantage of that 99 cents a sale. I think I bought like 7 games. I think, and they're all little like games that you're gonna play on the go, or I could try them around, because they're all play anywhere titles, which is interestingly enough a good thing. But ladies and gentlemen, what I would like to do is segue into why I believe, Jamie Moran and chat, that Xbox Game Studios not only should, but will be the publisher of 2025. So, I'm all about the evidence-based conversation, but even more so than that, Jamie, I like visual presentation. So, the old saying, a picture's worth what? 1,000 words. Well, I'm going to flash a screen I want to flash a picture on the screen, I should say, of what Xbox Game Studios has done. Take a look at this, folks. This is ultimately what the year is going to look like if they just end with Black Ops 7. And okay, so maybe not every game here is for you personally. And if it's not, well, of course, not every game is for every gamer. And if you are an Xbox gamer, some of these games may hit with you and some may not. But when you just take a look at what 2025 will have been for Xbox Game Studios from start to finish. And again, third topic of today's show is talking about the Fallout day that's happening. Folks, I have a strong suspicion, and this is just a gut feeling, that we're going to get an announcement of a shadow drop possibly, and that could very well be Fallout 3 Remake, which could be added to this list, giving you a baker's dozen, ladies and gentlemen. But look, let me just move this from the screen. You know what? I'm just going to leave it up on the screen for a few more minutes. So before I hand the mic over to Jamie, we can go over these. So this is what they ultimately have done in 1 year, ladies and gentlemen. This is just 1 year of Xbox Game Studio titles. And you know what's missing from there? Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. Remember, that was a shadow drop. Now, that's granted, obviously, a remake, but that remake doesn't happen unless Xbox approaches Team Ninja to get this done, to, obviously to work with Platinum Games in conjunction for Ninja Gaiden 4. But okay, we'll leave it off the list for shits and giggles. Jamie, in front of me, we have Avowed, South of Midnight, the Oblivion remake, Towerborn, Doom the Dark Ages, which seems like it is so long ago, it released last year, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 remake, Grounded 2, Gears of War Reloaded, Keeper, Ninja Gaiden 4, The Outer Worlds. That block of 3 is releasing within a week of each other, which is crazy. And closing out the year, if it just stands like this, is Black Ops 7. Every one of these games were in Xbox Game Pass. Towerborn, one of the ones that are still in preview. Eventually, that's going to get its official release. Jamie Moran, we got to get into this because this is one of those conversations that I really don't think there's an argument to be had here. I mean, look, we've all been gaming for, especially the graybeards in the chat. So stand up, graybeards. We've been gaming for a super long time. And as much as I have gamed on every console you could possibly imagine, I do not remember there being a time, even at PlayStation's best and biggest, did they ever put out 12 games in 1 year. If they, again, I know that maybe Xbox isn't your brand, but it's really hard to argue, Jamie, that they should not win this title easily when you consider how many quality games are right on that list. I want to get your thoughts, man.
You know what's funny? And obviously you see these posts, Boom, that whenever I post like a list of whatever Xbox has released this year so far, I always get one or two replies on about how, oh no, but it's all about quality and not quantity. But these people blatantly haven't played these games, right?
Obviously.
Like if you don't like South of Midnight, I don't know why. It's a fun action adventure. If you don't like Avowed, I think it's odd that people just happen to not like the RPGs that Bethesda and Obsidian put out that are exclusive to Xbox. Weird coincidence. And look, Doom the Dark Ages, like you said, it feels like that game came out last year. It only
really
came out
did.
a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
You know, and that game is quality to a T. Like they put parrying in a first-person shooter, and it doesn't make me want to rip my eyeballs out of my sockets with a rusty spoon. Right? That's how good that is. You know, Oblivion, right? I've been obsessed with Oblivion since the day it came out back in 2006. That game is an amazing RPG. And there's so many different ways they could have messed up this remake, but they got a studio that clearly knows what they're doing, virtuous, and they absolutely nailed this, right? And that was a shadow drop. Granted, we all knew beforehand because like it's been the worst kept secret in the industry, but like it was a shadow drop. And like Xbox, they've had an absolutely solid year. Hell, Jeff Keighley recently tweeted about Keeper. He managed to not mention Xbox in the post, but he said he liked Keeper.
He liked it a lot, actually.
Yeah, he liked it, and it's a very good game. And I think that if you're someone that's like Xbox centric, or you prefer Xbox, or like you might be a PC gamer, like Xbox, they've delivered this year. They've had really good output. And look, I think that if you on Xbox and you're looking at these games and you say, I don't think there's anything for me, then I really don't know what kind of games you like, right? There's variety here. For people that know me, I play RTS games. I play action RPGs. Like, look, I've been talking about Final Fantasy 16 nonstop for 4 months since I got the review code from Square Enix. Square Enix gave me a review code. Do you know who's complained about Square Enix for years? Me. Right? And by the way, Final Fantasy 16, absolute peakness of peakness. But like back to Xbox, like they've had a bloody good year. And like they still have games coming out. Still, you look at next year, right? As of now, they have Fable, a Halo game, possibly Gears of War 8, Forza Horizon 6, and like they have a habit of announcing games in the same year that release that year. So like next year is probably going to be absolutely amazing. I think that Xbox, the thing people complained about for the longest time for Xbox was that they didn't have enough studios. If you go back to the 360 generation, yeah, they sold like 90 million consoles. They were the tippity top of the mountain, and they were the de facto console that generation. But they put out maybe one exclusive a year, one first party title a year, and a lot of their titles were just third party exclusives. And look, the Call of Duty deal did them wonders that generation. But the number one complaint back then was they didn't have enough studios putting out first party content. And now they have so many first party studios putting first party content out that people have gone from, oh, we need quality games, to, oh no, it shouldn't be about quality. Sorry, it shouldn't be about quantity, right? It's like pick one, pick a lane, right? They've released a bunch of games this year, high in quality, right? Don't know what you can complain about. Xbox have had a fantastic year when it comes to the games, right? We could say their marketing in some areas, we can say the Game Pass stuff has been all over the place, but when you look at the games they've put out, they're all bloody good, really good, and they've had something for everyone. RPGs, action games, tactical games, like everything on Xbox at the minute. It's been a good time. And look, The Outer Worlds is coming out next week, and like that's a big RPG. We don't get Obsidian RPGs like that often, and we've had 2 this year. 2. So, and they technically going to put out 3 games this year if you include Grounded. Right?
Yeah.
I think that it's been a good year for them. Right? So you will have these detractors online that will make it seem like the end of the world. But last time I checked, that a publisher, game developer that puts out 12 games in a year, that's not Xbox's dead. Dead studios don't put out games like that. But yeah, that's just me.
I mean, it's a great point of view. Look, if we're talking, if you're gonna be talking about Xbox, right? And it's the talk of the town, folks. It's funny and I want to reiterate the point that Jamie just made about the Xbox being dead, because Will the Broke Boy Insider, or look at me, Will, the Broke Boy, said I thought Xbox was dead. And it's funny because for a dead platform, PlayStation gamers want their games, right? PlayStation gamers are buying their games. Now, Nintendo's not a part of the conversation because they're not working as closely as I thought Xbox and Nintendo were working. To be honest with you, I would have thought that they would have had quite a few of their games released on the Switch too. Now, I don't know what the holdup is. I don't know if it's the hardware itself, because the hardware is weak hardware. But then again, it's as powerful as the PlayStation 4 Pro, which isn't a slouch. But I don't know what the holdup is there. But if you just take a look at the socials, and if you're not a social media person, then this probably is going to be a moot point. But if you just look at the socials, everyone is talking about Xbox, good, bad, or otherwise. If it's not the hardware that Sarah Bond just reconfirmed that is happening, both the handheld and the actual next generation hardware, which we know, thanks to the ABC interview, besides the Variety interview, is actually happening. This has been one crazy year for Xbox. Now, granted, yes, we've all admitted and said publicly, Jamie, that they have stepped on some rakes. Sure, this is just what they do. But if you're going to bring this down to the brass tacks of the conversation, Jamie, I think it's really hard to argue where we start talking about games. Now, like I said in the opening, every game on this list, and there's 12 of them, is probably not going to be in your wheelhouse, and that's okay. If you like 5 of the 12 games, or you've played 5 of the 12 games, then being a part of the ecosystem might be worth it for you, especially if you are someone that's still subscribed to Xbox Game Pass. Now, if you're a gamer like myself who will play all of these games and have played all these games so far, except for obviously Black Ops 7, which is coming out next month, it's been a banner year for being a subscriber of Xbox Game Pass. But I just think, Jamie, that this is one of those conversations that Publisher of the Year is an easy win for them. How many of these games get into the Game of the Year, conversation? I honestly don't know. I mean, that obviously your mileage is going to vary there. But Jamie, just in closing, I don't know any one year that I could remember that, any of the big publishers, your EAs, your Activisions, your Sega, your PlayStation, your Nintendo, your Xbox, I really cannot recall at any one year, and I'm going way back, folks, that you've seen a publisher, which is now what Xbox ultimately is, not only put out this many games, but games that are not only on Xbox, but also everywhere else. And this is, and again, folks, all you got to do is just follow the breadcrumbs. This is the lead up to what is expected to be an even bigger banner year next year in 2026, when they have all these anniversaries they're going to be celebrating. The 25th anniversary of Chief and Cortana and Halo Combat Evolved, the 25th anniversary of the platform, the 20th anniversary of Gears of War. I mean, and there's more anniversaries talk in there. You have a new Fable. You got one new title of each of the big three: Halo, Gears, Forza, right? Those are the four that we know. You have the new Call of Duty from Infinity Ward, which is expected to be Modern Warfare 4. You also have, and again, this is just, just, it's a shot in the dark, but Clockwork Revolution could be one of those games that are released. That's just 6 games. We don't know what deals that they have with third party, second party, and indies. We don't know what is going to be the big indie title of next year that could very well be in Xbox Game Pass. I mean, talk about the lead up to one of, again, it's going to be a party from January 1st to December 31st of next year. And this week alone, right, we have Fallout Day, which we're going to get into in the last topic of the show. And then you have the 2 new Halo projects being shown on Friday. I mean, what a week, man, 8 days for Xbox. Like, I don't understand where or how you as a gamer could not be excited about what's going on at Xbox. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not trying to be like an over, excited fanboy here, but what you saw, what I just put out there, that's a lot of really positive Xbox news. And somehow, Jamie, it's used as it being negative or Xbox being dead. Before we get into the Fallout conversation, I'm going to get your final thoughts on that.
I mean, look, people can take what I say and say, "Oh, he's just an Xbox fanboy." Like, I could take Xbox for the things I don't like. I don't like the fact that they ended the backwards compatibility program that early. I think that their marketing of the Series X could have been better. Hell, the Series X and S, it doesn't say anywhere on the box that you buy it in. It doesn't say, "Hey, this is backwards compatible with 360 games." Doesn't say that, right? I've mentioned this a million times, and what trends every time there's an old Black Ops game or old Call of Duty game on sale, an old Call of Duty game. People like those old games, and I think Xbox's marketing around some of their titles is a bit weak. That being said, their titles have been bloody good. This year it's been absolutely solid. I can't really complain about anything first party wise, right? They've had constant hits for me. And look, you mentioned the Game Awards before, right? Shouldn't we technically include Indiana Jones then? Because that came out in December.
I mean, technically, yeah.
So technically, we should include that. And look, Indiana Jones. Look, I've said a lot of good things about Indiana Jones. That game really did wonders for me. Certain games come out at the perfect time, and that game came out at the perfect time for me. It was absolutely incredible. And ever since, Avowed, right? Avowed is this, and some people like to stretch things, like sort of take things I say and run with them. But if you think about it, Avowed was the first person AAA fantasy RPG like that since Skyrim, right? And people, whenever I mention this, people were saying, "Oh, it's not like an Oblivion or Skyrim style game." It's but if you really think about it, big budget fantasy RPGs, first person, we haven't had any since Skyrim, not one, right? And I love that game. Doom, how the hell did people not get excited for a brand new Doom game? The truth is, Xbox has had this really forced, and I keep using the term forced because it is. Xbox has had this forced hatred since the original Xbox, right? Why? Because people don't like the idea that Microsoft got into the console business. I've seen people in the industry say this. I've seen people that would shock you say this. And the truth is that, like, look, if you go back 20 plus years ago, right, what did you really have? Sega was failing because of many different reasons. You had the PlayStation 2 out, and Nintendo was about to put out their GameCube, right? Xbox, they actually shook up the market, right? They put out a super powerful console. It required you to be hooked up to broadband to play games online, right? It was that was the hardcore console box, right? And that that console sold like 30 million consoles. Then its follow up, the 360. Do you know the worst thing that happened to Xbox? It wasn't the multi-platform stuff, right? It wasn't Game Pass prices going up, which was also bad. The worst thing that ever happened to Xbox is something people don't really talk about anymore. And that was the fact that the Xbox 360 had a 50% failure rate, right? Really think about that. 50% of their chips failed, right? You bought a console and it was a flip of a coin whether your
It
console
really
worked or
was.
not.
Yep.
And like, can you imagine if that happened today? Absolutely pandemonium, right? But they got through it, and they became the de facto console to play that generation, right? That's what they did that generation. Like that was they got past the worst thing that ever happened to them, right? So if you look now, right, they are putting more first party games out than ever before. The quality is higher, right? They've had a consistent lineup of games, and they've had one thing this year which people have been wanting for years: a roadmap. They put out a roadmap, they stuck to it. The only game that got pushed was really Fable. So even though they moved their huge RPG, they still had a bunch of different games to release. So like I can't really see the reason to complain about Xbox all the time. Like, yeah, putting Xbox is dead in the title will make more money. It will. It just will. But like we don't see people in the industry. We don't see huge content creators make like look. I won't mention names. Do you know I saw people get really upset about Xbox blocking different resolutions to different streaming tiers to Game
Yeah.
Pass, right? But this person never had a problem with streaming services doing this ever before. It's the normal thing to do in the streaming era. And this person ever brought up, like, hey, do you know how Sony charges to, host cloud saves? That's never brought up. Do you know how backwards compatibility is locked behind a streaming paywall on Nintendo devices? That's never brought up. If you make a video about Xbox and it's negative, maybe you post a cringe face thumbnail, like angry or something, right? You guaranteed views, you guaranteed money. That's why we always see like Xbox shuts down Perfect Dark and they shut down a studio that never put out a game before. Pandemonium, world's going to end, the end of Xbox. Yet Sony puts out Concord last year and they closed down the studio. They end the game that had been out 2 weeks, and it's the biggest flop of game in history. And 2 weeks later, pushed to the side, nobody's talking about it.
Yeah. That's true.
Crazy, right? But like back to Xbox at the minute, like if we're talking about games, which is what we should be talking about, right? They've had a really good lineup this year. Bunch of different genres. Like hell, as someone that plays RPGs a lot, I adore RPGs. Like Xbox, by the end of the year, they'll have put out 3 RPGs, 3,
Yeah.
right? Which is you've never been able to say that about Xbox before. So like personally, I'm really happy with what they're putting out with. Next year is looking really good. And what can I say? Like if people still have something to complain about, okay, fair enough. Maybe the Game Pass prices going up did hurt the bank a lot. Right? I agree. The prices, it was mismanaged, tone deaf, but like we're talking about games, and those games they've had out this year are pretty great.
Again, no one on this panel, nobody in this chat, and nobody I work with regularly are ever going to advocate for price increases. We are consumers. We're Xbox consumers, but ultimately we're consumers across the board. So none of us would have ever sanctioned or signed off on, if we could have, a price increase. But and I use myself as the test case. Again, your mileage is going to vary, folks. So if you don't play every one of the games on the list that I showed to start this conversation, then maybe Game Pass isn't for you. I would rather not have to buy every one of those games, which I would have bought. And I would have bought the upgraded editions on all of them. And thankfully, I didn't have to do that. So, yeah, at the end of the day, if we're talking games and we're not bogging it down by how many consoles were sold versus one or the other, Xbox Game Studios should be the publisher of the year. And every one of those games may not be on your list to play, but I will have played all of them. And some of them are still in my game of the year conversation. But look, ladies and gentlemen, we have a big topic to get into regarding Fallout Day, what I think is going to happen. But I see people keep talking about this, and as it being a hot topic on the socials, I would be remiss if we didn't take 10 minutes to kind of give it a poke at. And what I'm talking about, and shout out to 108 Dragons 108 in the chat. That we had a chance to hang out in June. Gentleman of a man, and great to see you here, brother. Thank you so much for just hanging out. We super appreciate it. He actually had said some things regarding this, but Jamie, you and I were talking about this, and it's one of those things where I think it's one of those see me, hear me situations. And you know how I feel about naming the names things, folks. I'm not about that kind of smoke because I'm here to talk about video games and have fun and be engaging and a positive place where you can come and listen to the podcast and have a good time while you're doing, the dishes, or you're doing the wash, or you clean the house like I do with Dirt Griggity and so many other podcasts like the Iron Lords, for instance. But Mike Ybarra and Tim Dog have once again ignited conversation within the community. And look, Tim, I don't have a problem with Tim Dog. I honestly don't. I mean, I have his actual cell number. We used to talk on a regular basis. I stepped away from talking to Tim because he kind of fell off the deep end. And he really took a scorched earth approach to the Xbox community. And obviously I'm a big part of the Xbox community. At least I'd like to believe that I am. And I'm a positive one. So when I seen Tim doing what he was doing, I didn't comment. I just, what, people are going to do what people are going to do. And who am I to tell them how to do it? Right. So I'm not going to do that. So Tim has had a very, very colorful last year on the social media. I'm trying to be not facetious, but I'm trying to be genuine. To say it was colorful is being a bit undertoned, if you will, but he went with PlayStation and started hanging out with a lot of the POSs of that community. And they're not PlayStation gamers. They are living, breathing PlayStation trolls that go out of their way to just be mean and angry and hateful. And I'm not about that life. And if that's who he wants to hang with, so be it. Well, just recently, Tim found his way back to the community where he was now. I'm back. I'm back with the Xbox. I lost my mind, is what he said. And then he flipped again. So what I'm talking about, and again, this is not us talking about Tim like he's some sort of a maniac. Look, I think he needs to get off social media personally, but I also don't have a PhD, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to try and sit down on the couch with him and have a conversation. But why he's even in this conversation and why I'm even taking the time to name the names is because Mike Ybarra, two-time former Microsoft employee, has been out there and doing what Mike does. Look, I don't have a problem with Mike, but I think that for someone of his age, someone that comes from gaming, someone that has a stout history in understanding the business of gaming, he comes off as disingenuous at best. So the two of them traded conversations on social media regarding the Xbox Ally X and the Ally itself. And Tim Dog goes on to say, I would have never had Windows touch that effing ROG. It says, he goes on to say this. it has Xbox OS on the handheld and play those games on Game Pass. The current ROG Ally X should be effing partitioned and put just the Xbox OS on it. And again, I'm reading verbatim, folks. It's not written very well. I'm sorry if I sound like I'm drunk, but I'm not. What the F are they doing, Mike Ybarra? They actually had a good idea and they ruined it. Well, Mike Ybarra responds, and Mike's response is, I want to say, as long as my arm. And I'm a 6-foot man, so I have pretty long arms. I have good reach. And I'm not going to read all of it, but I'm going to read his first paragraph. Mike Ybarra, former, two-time former Xbox employee or Microsoft employee, says it makes sense to me since they're out of hardware and exclusive games. And he's been banging this drum, Jamie, in chat for a while. That includes the dedicated OS, which is essentially or essential for any console device, ease of use, security, etc. in parentheses. They are a publisher who will embrace Windows. Most will just pirate all of the games to their device unless they use Steam. Why does Steam help piracy? Because it's a flawless experience with a great return policy. Windows is far from a flawless experience and will, in quotes, never be one. I mean, Jamie, look, again, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on here. But I kind of want to talk about it because, Tim Dog is who we thought he was. He's someone that was a big Xbox fan. He got burnt by what Xbox and their decision to go third party burned him in a really bad way. And obviously all of the on the socials drama between him and some of the bigs like Phil Spencer got super ugly. And I'm not here to judge. Listen, brother, he's going to live his life. He's going to do what he's going to do. I don't interact with him. I'm simply having a conversation about what he posted about the Xbox Ally and the Ally X. And of course, he brought Mike Ybarra into the conversation. And of course, like he's done so many times before, he had no problem, throwing Microsoft under the bus and then rolling it back and forth. Look, I'll say this about Mike. I don't know him personally, but his antics online are that of a child. I'm almost embarrassed for him, to be quite honest with you. Now, he's a millionaire, so he doesn't give a flying shit what I say, and that's fine. But, I mean, we keep seeing and hearing the terminology, and I think you're going to use it, Jamie, about the bitter X, right? Like that bitter X that just does not want to leave me alone. He was burned twice. And now whether he was fired or he left on his own, and from what I heard, he didn't leave on his own. Let's just say that. Whether that's true or not, I have no idea. I wasn't in the room. I don't have any documents. But he was an employee of Xbox and Microsoft twice. And now he's no longer. What he's doing is what millionaires should be doing, and that's probably spending some of his well-earned and stocked money that he got on the Bethesda deal and what he got from the Activision deal and how much money he was making while he was employed not only by Xbox and Microsoft, but when he was employed by Activision for the president of Blizzard. I finally have had enough of it. This is probably going to be the last time I talk about it, but I do find it incredibly odd that he continues to go after Xbox. And I really think that as a community, we should really just put him on the pay no mind list. And that would go for Tim as well, because Tim is looking for a fight. And so is Mike, for that matter. They put these things out there and they're hoping and praying that someone is going to talk about it. It will be the last time that I talk about it. But because people in the chat want to have this conversation, who am I to say no? Jamie Moran, let's try and make sense of this craziness that's been going on, not only with Tim Dog, but now, once again, with Mike Ybarra.
Where to start? I mean, the Mike Ybarra thing, I think a lot of, and I said this before we went live, like Mike Ybarra was this like beloved person in the Xbox community because he was always interacting with people, even though he was high up the chain at Xbox. And like, look, when they announced backwards compatibility, he was there on stage talking about it, playing Mass Effect. Bravo, chef's kiss, right? So like to me, like I always liked the dude, but the people mentioned the Bitter X thing, and like I think I've seen him respond to people mention the Bitter X thing, and he seems angry about it. But like the truth is, like the term acting like a Bitter X exists for a reason, right? If you are fired, let go, quit, whatever, and then you go on this endless tirade of talking about that company like it's the worst thing since like anything, there's something's got to give, right? People are creatures of habit, and he's gotten into the habit of just downplaying anything Xbox does, and like, complaining about the marketing thing, complaining about the ROG Ally and how it's confusing and stuff. It's like, look, let's get the ROG thing out the way. If you spend $1,000 on a device, I 1000% believe that the person buying that product does a little bit of research first, right?
Yeah.
Like, hell, my local supermarket, when they run out of my favorite cheese, I do research to find a better cheese or something similar, right? And that block of cheese is like £4, right? So I do research on a block of cheese. So if people are going out there spending $1,000 on something, think, oh, I think this is going to play holodeck games, right? No, it's not happening, right? And yeah, you have Game Rant making the endless line of clickbait saying, I spent $1,000 on a device and I regret it. Well, I'm happy you spent that $1,000, and I'm happy that you regret it because you're an idiot. You don't spend $1,000 on something you might not like. But anyway, back to the Mikey Bar thing. It does come off bitter. It comes off extremely bitter because look, people could joke saying, "Oh, he got fired from the same company twice," but if you do get fired from the same company twice and you're a millionaire, he doesn't have to do social media, right?
No, he doesn't.
He could be sitting on a beach, sipping Mai Tais, having a good time, right? But he's on Twitter complaining about Xbox. What world are we living in? It's not real. It seems fake. And like the Bitter X thing, it does seem very Bitter Xy.
It's spot on, brother. Again, it's simplistic in nature, and maybe because oh, it's just a lazy thing to say. No, it's like acting like the bitter X, brother. That's what it's acting like.
Yeah, and it does come off like, look, in the social media space, it's all about engagement, right? If you have a large following and you post regularly, you're used to some sort of engagement. If you post certain things and you see that engagement go up, you tend to post very similar things. That's how it works. And if you post Xbox hate and you say, "Oh wait, my engagement's up," I'll post some more, and then I'll post some more, and then they continue to do that, and then they can't get out of the cycle to the point where that's the only way they can actually get any engagement on social media, on basically anything. That's how it works. That's why you see these people post the Xbox is dead videos, because they get clicks. But like the Mikey Barber thing, it just came off like a very Bitter X thing, you know. And the Tim Dog thing, look, we could sit here and joke about it. The truth is that what we saw last year, and even he said, it did look like there was something seriously going on in his head emotionally, right? Seriously, right? And to that I say is that a lot of people take this gaming thing way too seriously, right? Gaming is a hobby we're meant to enjoy, and too many people talk about it like it's the end of the world, and they act like it's that mini series that came out years ago, Video Game High School, where video games ruled the world and everything was about video games. The truth is, it's just a hobby, right? Some people that get up in their feels about this stuff take this stuff personally, and it did look like he took some of that stuff personally. The way he lashed out at people that were friends with him for years online, and then like, look, boom, I can say this to you right now, and I can say this to everyone in chat, right? If all of a sudden I say, you know what, I'm switching preference to PlayStation, I'm not going to start crapping on every one of yous. right? I'm not going to start talking to the people that's made fun of me for a decade online, right?
Yes.
People that have put like, look, I won't say what, and I've told Boom off stream, but like people have posted some really disgusting stuff about me, some really horrible things, stuff I can't say. But like, would I start talking to these people because I like to play on a different piece of plastic box? No, it's crazy, right? That's why people said it was crazy at the time. You don't do that as a person, right? You don't crap on the people that supported you for a decade just because you want to play games on a different box. So if all of a sudden I want to start being a PlayStation guy, I'm not going to start crapping on Xbox, and that's the base mentality we see all the time, right? Boom, we've been around in this community for a while. We've seen this multiple times, right? You switch platforms, you switch quote unquote preferences, and you start placating to a different audience while talking to the people that's made fun of you for years. Why do these people do this? It makes no sense. It's sociopathic behavior or something like that. It's not normal, right? And when people take this whole gaming thing and they take it too seriously, I say they need to find a hobby they can just take a break from gaming off, right? Because guess what? Look, I love video games, but guess what? I love movies. I love movies. I don't talk about them much, but I love movies. I love playing pool. I love snooker, right? And I don't talk about snooker because a lot of people find it boring, but it's the gentleman's sport, and I bloody love the thing. And you're basically playing pool on a massive pool table. But like I love that, right? And I think too many people that they spend all their social media time or spare time or whatever you want to call it talking about gaming, and like all of their posts about like complaining about stuff in the industry. Every single post, right? I think that if you're on social media and you post about gaming a lot, why can't you post, hey, I've discovered this really cool indie game no one's talking about. Here's some
Yes.
screenshots of the game I've been playing. Here's some clips. Like if you look at my Twitter, other than posting about upcoming games, every single day I post screenshots and videos of a game I'm playing. Every single day. Every day. And I just saw in chat, snooker's what they play in old people homes. No, it's not. It's the gentleman's sport. I mean, hell, I first started playing snooker when I was 7. But anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah. Oh my god, what was I saying? I completely lost it. Okay, right, yeah,
lost
the
your chain
post
of
and clips thing.
thoughts.
Yeah, the post and clips thing, right? Like how can you post on Twitter daily? And this isn't just about Tim Dog. This isn't about Mikey Barr. This is just in general. Like, if next time you're on social media and you're scrolling down your feed and you see someone that all of their posts are just relenting, complaining about Xbox, complaining about gaming in general, look at their feed, right? They will never post screenshots. They'll never post videos of anything they're playing, right? I think that too many people take this stuff way too seriously. Way too seriously. You know, if you think Xbox go multi-platform for some of their titles, a lot of their titles, who cares, right? Who really cares? Look at Square Enix. Like Square Enix was dragged through the coals in the Xbox fandom for years for not putting a lot of their games on Xbox, right? And they said we're moving to a multi-platform strategy. We're going to make more money from it. Blah 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 blah. And guess what? So far, it's actually working out for them. I think that people just need to stop taking the whole gaming thing way too seriously. It's not healthy. It's way not. It's just not healthy, right? People play games and they should talk about them. If people only spend all their time complaining about something, then they aren't playing these games to begin with, right? And I put out this post last night. I dare people, right? If they talk about Xbox in a negative way, they dislike Xbox, they dislike Game Pass, they dislike the Xbox ROG Ally X or whatever, don't talk about them for 1 week. I bet they can't. And you'll never see it happen. You'll never see it happen because it gets engagement. And some people, actually, a lot of people now, they revolve all of their content, be it on YouTube, Twitter, whatever, around engagement. And it's sad. But all I'll say is about the whole Mikey Barra thing and all that, people need to stop taking this stuff way too seriously. And as I was saying to Boom before we went live, the Bitter X thing, you know what? Screw it. I'll mention the story. I was. I'm trying to think how to word this very carefully. I'm one of my exes. She would start fights with me because we had intertwined friend groups. So we'd go to these pubs, these bars and nightclubs together. So even though me and this woman, we broke up, we still had to hang out with each other for about 4 months after we broke up, right? And I'm a very laid back person, right? Some people have thought I've been high before because I'm so laid back. That's just my attitude with stuff, right? And after we broke up, she would scream at me in public, wait till we're in public in front of everyone, just start trying to argue about random stuff that no one cares about, right? Even though we've been broken up for months. And I used to get past it and get through it just by ignoring her, right? She'd be sitting there screaming at me ear, and I'd just be sipping my drink. That's how I got through it. And people need to do that for this stuff, right? So if you see negative gaming stuff, maybe you see some YouTuber that's making Xbox grift, or see people on Twitter that's constantly whining about Xbox, or maybe you see an Xbox executive or an X1 that constantly complains about Xbox even though they don't work for them anymore, just ignore them. That's how you stop getting all this clickbait, by the way. Stop clicking on it, right? That's if you want to see less Xbox is dead content in your feed, stop clicking on it. Stop interacting with it, and you'll see less of it. When these people get less engagement, they're going to get really desperate and constantly start doing it a lot more, and then they'll realize that it's not working anymore. The best thing I can say for everyone listening right now, do not engage with the negative Xbox grift because it's working so far for them and not for everyone else.
It's a great point of view, brother. Well, listen, folks, we're not going to bore you anymore with the Mike Ybarra nonsense because that's ultimately what it is. What I want to do, though, is I do want to catch up on Super Chats, and then we're going to get into this big Fallout news, folks. I got a feeling about Fallout and what could actually happen. I also have a theory on what I am praying to the gaming gods that actually happens. We'll get to that in a hot second. So thank you so much, everyone that's here. We're an hour in. If you are someone that is finding the channel for the first time, Mrs. Boom and I would greatly appreciate if you took the time to, of course, check out podcasts. We do shows, live streams Monday through Friday. Occasionally, like tomorrow, there's going to be an extra live stream, and it's going to be an AMA for Ninja Gaiden 4. And I will eventually get there for, I'm going to do a review, an actual review for The Outer Worlds 2, which is what I'm working on right now. But yeah, I mean, again, we do this show for you guys. And we appreciate all of the support that we get, not just by the super chats, folks, and not by the channel memberships and the gifted subs. Mrs. Boom and I appreciate that more than you could possibly imagine because we know that we're not owed anything. I do this show Monday through Friday because I love hanging out with this community and I love talking about video games. I can do this all the time, which is why when I work on the show 7 days a week, I'm never bothered by it. It never feels like a chore. So again, if you're someone that's finding the channel for the first time and you want to continue to see this channel grow, help us out, man. Share us on the socials if you haven't already. Let people know about Double Barrel Gaming and more simply, just sub the channel, man. We average about $1.15 per month, which is it's great. I mean, I'd love to be able to say that we're getting 500 a month, 1,000 a month, and then we might be able to get to that 25K a lot sooner. But we'll do it the mom and pop way. We'll just go with the flow, so to speak. So with that said, we are very lucky where we have companies that want to, work with us. I have something that I'm working on right now that's pretty big. I cannot talk about it because I have not signed any of the paperwork yet, and I want to get some more details. And I will be sharing that with you and the community as soon as I figure out if we're going to accept their offer. But who we are working with and what I haven't done in a while is tell you about the Volare gaming pillow, ladies and gentlemen. Now, as you know, last year they did something that was amazing, and they pitched us with our own pillow, a double barrel gaming pillow. You know, the look at me, the broke boy is one of the fine folks in the community that bought it, and he doesn't use it because his dog uses it as where they like to chill, which is pretty cool. But again, we get offers, quite a few a week, and a lot of them are overseas, and a lot of them are stuff that we wouldn't use ourselves. So we're not going to try and sell someone else's junk. We don't roll like that. We've worked with Manscaped, we've worked with Arcade One Up, we worked with quite a few, but the one that we are currently working with is a mom and pop business, just like Double Barrel Gaming, and that is the Volare Gaming Pillow. I did contract Sean Labrie to do this commercial, which I'm going to play for you last year. I did the music myself. Listen, folks, if you're someone like me that has back issues and you want a solution to that, especially if you game for long hours, check out this pillow, because I was very skeptical at first. And I'm not going to ever try and sell you something that I currently don't use. And the pillow that I'm currently using is the Fallout Power Armor pillow. And it does work with me, especially if you're someone like me that I'm a big man. I'm 6 feet, right? I'm a big dude. And I work out a lot. And, sometimes I find myself slouching and hunching over. And for someone with a bad back, that doesn't work really well. And this pillow has been a lifesaver for me personally. So check it out, folks. Check out the I think it's 30-second commercial. And then we get right back to it. And there you go, ladies and gentlemen, 30 seconds in and out. That is, of course, the Double Barrel Gaming, the official Double Barrel Gaming pillow from the Volare Pillow Company. If you are someone that's interested, I will drop the link. I believe I'll drop the link in the chat momentarily. But the link is, of course, at, not only on my Twitter account, but in the show notes for today's show. And if you use the code DBG15 at checkout, folks, you can save 15% off of your order. And I think they even give you free shipping. So definitely go check that out. And again, shout out to the Volare Gaming Pillow for teaming up with Double Barrel Gaming. But Jamie Moran, if there is one thing that I can complain about Xbox, and there isn't a thing that I'm going to complain, it's that I do not want to be 60 years old playing Fallout 5. And I hope that is not going to be the case. But why I'm bringing up Fallout, and why every Fallout fan should be very excited this particular week, actually, it's a double-sided coin conversation we're about to have, because this week we learned that it was the 15th anniversary of Obsidian's Fallout New Vegas, which, again, I know Todd Howard is going to give me the eye when he sees me the next time, but my favorite Fallout game has been, and probably always will be, Fallout New Vegas. Right now, this is a game that I think has transcended generations. And it's a game that I really hope at some point gets an Oblivion-like remake. And I think it deserves it. I think it would sell like absolute freaking hotcakes. And again, this is just my love of it. Well, Obsidian tweeted the other day, today marks 15 years since the release of Fallout New Vegas. Since 2010, players have explored the Mojave Wasteland, where countless carriers have walked the same road, each carving their own story. Thank you for keeping the spirit of the game alive all of these years. Viva New Vegas. And folks, I'm a nerd. I'm getting goosebumps just reading it. Like I'm so excited. But why anyone should be excited about Fallout specifically, is we have a tweet here from Bethesda and from the official Fallout on X. And it says just 3 days away from the Fallout Day broadcast, join us for a celebration of Fallout and get the latest news about our current titles with an S, ladies and gentlemen. So, like, if you all know that a couple of weeks ago, I was very lucky enough for Bethesda to invite me to Manhattan in New York City to sit down with 2+ hours of the new expansion, Burning Springs, for Fallout 76. And Jamie, look, I'm not trying to make a mountain out of a molehill, but I'm going to try because there are one or two things that could happen. I'm hoping it's a multitude of things. So we've been hearing since the ABK drama in court that there was, in fact, a Fallout 3 remake happening. And it just so happens that that was around the same time that we learned about the Oblivion remake that launched earlier this year. Now, Fallout Day is happening, and it's happening relatively soon. My, gut feeling here is this would be a really excellent time to shadow drop Fallout 3 remake on the community, just like they did with Oblivion. Now, granted, I don't know this is going to happen. It's a wish that I'm hoping is going to happen because December we have the season 2 of the Fallout series on Amazon Prime releasing. So it makes sense from a business point of view, right? Now walk with me on this, folks, because this is going to get to the point of you're going to tell me, don't say this, Boom, because it's too good to happen. Well, here's my thoughts, Jamie and chat. Fallout Day is happening. They said that they're going to be talking about our current titles. Now, as far as I know, Fallout 76 is the only Fallout title that is getting new DLC or an expansion. And that's the only thing that's actually happening for Fallout. So when they say titles, I take that as plural. Now, I personally think that this would, again, I'm going to reiterate it. I think this would be a great time and a great space for them to shadow drop Fallout 3 for Steam, PS5, Xbox, and even Switch 2. Why not? Go crazy. It's going to sell like hotcakes. And Fallout 3 is my second in the list of Fallout games. Right? They're not many of them, but for me, Fallout 3, I put hundreds of hours in. But now, again, that's why I said walk with me on this, folks, because it's Fallout Day. So why shouldn't they have numerous announcements? And why shouldn't they? And again, folks, this is just me spitballing here. Have another announcement outside of the possible Fallout 3 remake shadow drop. Now, Obsidian just tweeted the other day that they are celebrating the 15th anniversary of one of the best Fallouts ever made, Fallout New Vegas. What if, and this is where we're getting a little crazy here, again, walk with me on this, folks. What if they also announce that for next year, or at least they announce it, that there is a Fallout New Vegas 2 happening? That would be a mic drop moment times 2. And why there might be some smoke to what I'm trying to talk about here, or fire to the smoke that I'm trying to lay, is the original producer from Fallout New Vegas last year announced that he was coming back to Obsidian. But when pressed about when the press asked him about whether or not he's back to do Fallout New Vegas, he didn't shy away from it, but he didn't say no. Jamie Moran, what are you expecting at this Fallout Day announcement? And are you hearing what I'm saying? Could we get Not one Fallout announcement, but possibly two.
Oof, this is a tricky topic because if I can find the clip, I'll post it. Last year, after season 1 aired on Amazon Prime, and after the whole, Fallout 4, like Fallout 4 had such a boost of a TV show that it was number 1 across all of Europe, right? At that point, it was a 9-year-old game, right? So like when that happened, I was like, okay, I was 100% sure that Fallout 3 remake, remaster, whatever people want to call it, that's going to drop alongside the TV show season 2, which will be December. Now, with a game as big as Fallout, I don't think you would really have to shadow drop it. I think you could market it, right? And they did say there's not going to be any new games tomorrow. Fallout 3 already exists, so maybe there's a loophole there. We could be, coping or like huffing the hopium or whatever. But Fallout, like Fallout, had such a huge boost last year that people at Xbox realized that, oh, we need to do something with Fallout now because, like, look, Skyrim, that's still going to get expansions. Elder Scrolls 6, that's coming at some point in the next 2 years. We realistically, if nothing else moves the needle, we're going to get Fallout 5 in 2035.
I say 2030 because you know that Bethesda works in 5 and 6 year blocks. So Jamie might be onto something. I hope that I'm not 65 playing this game. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I hope I'm wrong, by the way. I 1,000% hope I'm wrong. But like they have to have realized, and they did realize, that they can't be sitting on the Fallout IP for as long as they have for other stuff. So like, considering they have Obsidian now, and considering like Fallout is such a rich universe,
Yeah, man.
you don't really need to have like a brand. Like, look, who's to say that the next new Fallout game has to be this massive open world Fallout game, right? Why can't it be a spin-off, right? I keep pitching this idea, and I really hope someone listens at Xbox. I would like a first-person shooter where you play as the Brotherhood of Steel in the wars,
Yes.
right? And it doesn't have to be a huge open world game. It could be a linear first person shooter. You could do anything with the Fallout universe. And that's the beauty of it. And when it comes to the whole Fallout 3 thing, like, look, Virtuos did an incredible job with Oblivion. They made that world feel alive. It's beautiful, yet it still retains its charm from 2006 as something which I thought would be impossible, but they made it work. And like, if you look at Fallout 3 is my favorite game of the Fallout franchise. It's one of my favorite games of all time. However, when you play that game, you become very quickly aware that the whole map is gray, green, yellow, and brown all at the same time. Like everything in that map, every texture is the exact same color. It doesn't matter if you're walking past a hospital, in a supermarket, or in a town. Everything is that weird shade of greenish, yellowy, gray, brown. Right? So like,
You're not wrong.
my dream, and they could technically do this with a Fallout 3 remake, remaster, whatever people want to label it as. Like, if you take Fallout 4's gameplay, put in a little tiny bit more color, and maybe Fallout 4 centric color tones in Fallout 3, you've got a masterpiece, right? I think Fallout 3 is a masterpiece anyway, but when that gameplay, it's dated slightly, especially the third person camera movement. It's awful. But yeah, just it's vomit colored. Yeah, that's what Fallout 3 is. I love that game. And you're walking in an open world vomit map, basically. But I love that world. It's amazing. I've never been to Washington, DC. I assume the whole thing isn't that color, but I love that game. And look, almost everything on that list that leaked a couple of years ago has came out. So who knows what's going to happen? Obviously, Fallout 76 had a huge boost last year. They're coming out with more content for that. It's going to be, ongoing for years. Fallout 76 has had a huge boost over the past couple of months. I see in my feed. But like, if you're going to announce anything Fallout related, By the way, I do think New Vegas will get the same treatment down the line.
It would be great, dude.
I don't think it'll be this year, but I could see it being next year, maybe the year after, because I think if you're Xbox and Bethesda right now, you realize that, look, if we really gonna have these long periods of time in between these marquee titles, wouldn't it be cool if you could come out with a Fallout New Vegas remake or a Morrowind remake, right?
Yeah.
Guaranteed hits. And by the way, I do think Morrowind will also get the same treatment, although that'll probably be the game that takes the longest to make because they essentially have to literally make the whole game. But I think these things will happen. You know, Microsoft were against this type of stuff for the longest time, but now that they have the studios, they have the know-how, and look, working with Virtuos, they learned a lot. They clearly know that they can get the job done. And why wouldn't you work with them again? Sure hit. Oblivion was fantastic. It was greatly received, and I can't really recall many complaints about it. You know, it had some weird Unreal Engine lighting error which they fixed, but like other than that, like it's a great version of the game. The Fallout event should be interesting. I do think that if people go into this thinking we're going to get Fallout 5, not happening. I would love to be wrong. I would love to be wrong, but it's not happening.
Yeah.
But like Fallout 3, I think that is the big one they could do, right? Get rid of the puke color in Fallout 3, please. Right? I seriously, I can't stress enough how much I love Fallout 3, but my God, that world is ugly.
It is just a really small palette of color. It
like even bit of a tangent, right? Every single thing in that world is the same color.
It's all brown. Honestly, it's dirty
it's all
and
the same
brown.
color, right?
Yeah.
You just exit this vault and you hit with this like bloom, right? And you see the open world and you're like, wow, this is incredible. And then you walk a little bit and you're like, huh, this patch of ground is the same color as that hospital over there. You know, then you walk, maybe you play for another 20 hours and you're like, everything looks the same when it comes to its color. But you know what? I don't care. You know, and look when it comes to the expansions in Fallout 3, right? Fallout 3 has amazing expansions.
They really do. They're some of the best they've ever put out, honestly.
You have Broken Steel, you have Mothership Zeta, where the whole expansion is set on a giant alien mothership.
Yes.
Right? And it's incredible. You have the Pit, which is basically this Mad Max vibe looking thing. Right? They have a bunch of different expansions, and each one's different than the last. And I think that, you know, if anything, I think that might actually be my favorite Bethesda game, Fallout 3. So like we'll see what happens, but yeah, I'm 99% leaning on something Fallout 3 is going to happen. Even if they don't announce it, I think they'll probably tease it because the season 2 for the Fallout show is going to be huge.
Yeah.
They aren't dropping that whole show at once, from what I see. So like they're gonna want to be running this Fallout train for a while because Fallout's going to be huge.
I mean, so far, look, Burning Springs is if you're a fan of the show, right? Walton Goggins, obviously, we know that he plays the ghoul in the show. Well, he also did the actual voice for the ghoul in a prequel, because the Burning Springs is a prequel to the actual show in Fallout 76. And you get to do bounties for him, which is pretty dope. That's also releasing in December. So you have the season 2 of the Fallout TV series, and you also have Fallout 76. Now, like I said in my Ask Me Anything, they have made it where you can play solo and still have a good experience. If you're someone that actually wants what's considered a closed world where it's just you and the NPCs, you can pay for that. There's a year's pass, or you can pay monthly, which I think is like $7 a month or something like that. Or is it 13? I don't know. I don't remember the pricing on it, but I know that you can either pay $99 for the entire year for what's considered their Fallout Premium Pass, or you can pay monthly. I don't really play MMOs. That's why I was a bit hesitant to even go to the event, but they did make me into a believer because the graphics are great. The the voice acting, obviously it's Walton Goggins, so it was really good, and I had a good time playing it. but I am a single player guy. You all know that. Jamie Moran here is a single player guy. I think, and this is just me kind of spitballing, if I'm putting on the business hat for a second over the Mohawk, I originally thought that it would be amazing to do a shadow drop in December for Fallout 3 Remake. But I now sitting back and kind of just listening to Jamie talk and kind of in my own thoughts, that would actually be a terrible idea because they have Fallout 76 and Burning Springs releasing in December. So why, the Fallout 3 Remake would eat that lunch. It really would, because it's Fallout 3. And if it's going to look and act just like Oblivion, it's going to be a masterclass and it's going to be a seller. It's going to not have to, again, Xbox Game Pass subscribers won't have to buy it, but people on PlayStation, people on Steam could, play, if they want to buy it, they can buy it. And if it's released on Switch 2, that's going to be awesome. A new game for them to play, why not? So it makes sense to me now more than ever that the Fallout 3 Remake could, in fact, show up on Fallout Day, which is October 23rd. But what I did before we get on out of here, there's some additional context to what I was saying before. So the gentleman I was talking about his name is, well, he's still alive. His name is John Gonzalez, and he was the writer for Fallout New Vegas. Well, he has been brought back to Obsidian Entertainment as a creative director. And this comes to us by the way of Clobriel. And Clobriel had put out a tweet, says, John Gonzalez is returning to Obsidian Entertainment as a creative director, previously lead story writer on Fallout New Vegas. And according to John Gonzalez, he says he's back for what he says, quote, exciting times. But he also clarifies that he's not working on Fallout New Vegas 2. Okay, I mean that's a bit of a bummer. But I still think that, look, here's the thing, folks. Obsidian is got to be working on something. Now, what are they working on? I have no idea, because they've put out 3 games as of Friday this year. Avowed, still my game of the year. Loved every second. I'm waiting for a new game plus for them to release. That is supposedly happening soon. I will start that game. And Jamie, I always bring you into the conversation. I want to play the way that you did. See, I played from a magician first person. You played from a melee third person. I'm going to actually play that. When I watched your gameplay and you put a lot of it out there, I'm like, man, did I play this game wrong? That looks amazing. So I'm definitely going to play that way, and I'm excited for it. But they'll Obsidian 3 games this year. What are they working on? Listen, I'm not a business tycoon. I don't have a business degree. But if you were to put out Fallout New Vegas remake, it's going to sell a gazillion copies. If you put that out, or you just announce that you're making Fallout New Vegas 2, it's going to sell a gazillion copies. It's one of the best, games, at least in the series for me. And the series itself. And again, folks, if you haven't watched Fallout, walk away from shut the mic off. I'm about to spoil something for you. So you've been warned. But at the end of season 1, Jamie, where are they going? They're going to New Vegas. So I'm sorry. I just hope that a New Vegas announcement, whether it be a remake, remaster of the original one coming out next year, that would be dope. And obviously this year could be Fallout 3 remake, remaster, whatever you want to call it. And then maybe if the sales, look, I think the sales of Oblivion, it sold over 10 million copies, ladies and gentlemen. And it's a remake. The game is 100 years old, and it's sold like freaking hotcakes. If they put out Fallout 3 remake, it's going to sell. If they announce that they're putting out a remake of Fallout New Vegas, it's literally going to force them to put out a New Vegas 2, because it's going to sell like gangbusters. But Jamie, before we get out of here, I got to catch up on Super Chats. And apologies, folks. I normally don't read them at the end. I usually read them in the middle, and then whatever I missed or came in late, just because I did the commercial, I got a little bit turned around. So let me just read the Super Chats, and channel member chats, and then we'll get everyone out of here. So Sith Lord, who's been a channel member for a whopping 42 months, says Umbra is sick. I'll step up and go to his place, make him some soup, and nurse him back to health. I'm on my way, Umbra. And that's because they both live in Chi-Town. So thank you, Sith Lord, for being a channel member, brother. And thank you for caring for the Umbra. He should be, I mean, I think he's going to be okay. I just think he's, it's like, listen, it's everyone is sick. And, the poor man works midnight. So he was exhausted. 108 Dragons TV. Now, I DM'd you, brother. He says, read my text. I couldn't send that message. I don't know where that message was, but I DM'd you, so we'll talk after. Jay Slay in the chat drops a very generous $2 super chat. Oh, of course, real quick, 108 Dragons TV dropped a very generous $5 super chat. So 108, thank you so much, brother, and it was a pleasure to hang out with you in June. We got to do that again. Hopefully, we'll see if there's going to be something for us to go to next June, because I'm definitely going. But Jay Slay in the chat drops a very generous $2 super chat. He says, did you see Mike Ybarra's statement on Xbox hardware? You know what? That man is officially getting muted. I don't want to see any of his stuff. Appreciate the generosity, Jay Slay. I just think he's an angry man. I don't know what else to say about it. He's just an angry man, and he's a millionaire. He doesn't have to be angry. He's rich. But I guess money doesn't buy everything, I suppose. We have Look at Me, the Broke Boy drops a very generous $2 super chat. It says, imagine using Mike Ybarra and Tim Dog fanboy convo as news. They actually put that in before we even talked about it. I don't know who he was referring to, but it's not us. So a shout out to you. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, I think what he's referring to is some of the journos are using it as news. That's sad. There's a lot of games they could be reporting on, 3 of which came from Xbox Game Studios. And there's a lot of really positive Xbox news you could be writing. I suppose they choose not to. So shout out to you, Will, as always. 108 Dragon TV drops an additional, very generous $5 super chat. Now, this one made me chuckle. He says, Ponies didn't accept him in, and the Xbox fan base won't allow him back. I have his number also, just not using it to get off social media. Tim Poodle, please. SOS. That's funny. That's why I laughed about the Tim Poodle rather than Tim Dog. So shout out to you, 108. We also have here, Look at Me, the Broke Boy drops an additional, very generous $2 super chat. He says, look at that news article from Tom Warren I sent. Yeah, apparently the Xbox dev kits are costing $500 more. I mean, listen, look, I guess I like Tom. I like Tom Warren. I like Tom Henderson. I love Jess Corden. I love a lot of the journals we talk about on this show. Honestly, is that news? Do I care? I mean, it's obviously being angled as negative Xbox news. I just think that, like Jamie said earlier, all you have to do is put some sort of suggestion in your title that Xbox is dead, dying, or in trouble in some way, whether it be through something like this. Listen, I don't use this show and Double Barrel Gaming to pay the rent. I have a pension. I have other investments. So I don't have to, I'm not going to whore myself out to try and get clicks, likes, and subs doing it the negative way. And I'm not suggesting that Tom Warren is doing that. I just think that with all of the really great news and the great stories that could be written about Xbox, that's the kind of story that I think doesn't have a place. I mean, is it news? Yeah, I guess. But is it news that I would personally want to write about? No, not really. And I'm not capping for Xbox. I give them smoke when they deserve it. And that's what makes this channel different than any of the people that are sucking on the taint. I'm not about that life. If there's smoke to be given, I'm going to give it. But if there is something to be championed and excited about, and that's Xbox right now, I'm going to be excited about it. So I don't understand the article from Tom about, dev kits costing more. Breaking news, everything costs more, including hardware, which is why their price went up. I don't know, but it is what it is. Mac22 in the chat drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, I am sorry. Fallout is hashtag overrated. I mean, that's okay, dude. I mean, it's a big game that sometimes is overwhelming. And some of the older games have not aged very well, like Jamie was saying. But again, if it's not your bag, brother, I mean, look, it's not your bag. That's okay. You don't have to enjoy Fallout. It doesn't make you a bad guy. It's just you don't like Fallout. That's cool. I hear you. Thank you for generosity, brother. And lastly, we have Pragmatic Eagle. Man, this is crazy, folks. He has been a channel member for 73 months. Prag, that is incredibly generous of you. We super appreciate it, bro. He goes on to say, so that everyone is on the same page, rule of thumb, a remake means that there are gameplay changes. A remaster is only graphics and maybe quality of life. You know what's funny? I see. I agree with you. I think you're onto something here. But if you just take a look at something like Oblivion, oh man, that is hard to just chalk up as a remaster. To me, that's a remake because that game is leaps and bounds better than the original in every way. And maybe there is some quality of life stuff there. But look, at this point, I want to see them take exactly what they did with Oblivion and move that love and care over to two of my favorite Fallout franchises, and that's Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas. And I think that they're because we have to wait, and again, we don't know for sure. We're just speculating here, but the next Elder Scrolls is not this year. It's not next year. It's probably going to be a launch title for the new Xbox handheld and console in 27. So if we just say, okay, if we just look and we just spitball it here and we say the typical Bethesda development cycle, right? From game to game to game, Starfield to the Elder Scrolls to Fallout 5. If you just want to, lowball it and say 5 years from 27, that gets you into 2032, man. I'm going to be an super old man by then. I'd rather not have to wait to play a new Fallout game, even if it's a new old Fallout game. I would really like to jump back into 3. I would really like to jump back into Vegas. And to be honest with you, I think the success of the TV series potentially forced Todd Howard and Bethesda's hand to do something sooner. And how they're going to do that, I don't know. But they might have to start another studio within Bethesda to get working on Fallout 5, so we don't have to wait another 7 years for that game. But ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for us here. Hopefully, you enjoyed today's conversation. Some of it was a lot of fun. Other conversations about the whole Mike Ybarra thing were a bit of a drag. But you folks wanted to talk about it, so who am I to say no? Jimmy Moran, let's sell the brand. You and Logan Meyer will be back on these YouTube streets, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today, in the new episode of the All Things Xbox. And unfortunately for you, I got really bad news. I'm going to send it over to your DM. You're not going to like it. And it has to do with Splinter Cell. Thanks to Corey Capicoa in the chat. He actually sent me. So Corey, thank you so much for this, brother. Super appreciate it. He says, according to the VGT Gaming News, breaking news: Splinter Cell remake has once again lost its games director. The remake, according to VGT and who they spoke to, appears to be in disarray at Ubisoft as they begin a new search for another games director. I'm going to send it to you in the DM, and I say, boo, Ubisoft. My God, can we get this right? Jimmy Moran, Zelda Brand, brother. Where can people subscribe? But more importantly, check out the show today.
Why must I suffer every single day?
It's just gross at this point. It just
something
really
has
is.
To, and someone might say I'm being melodramatic. Yes, I am. I love Splinter Cell, but I've had to wait 13 years. 13 years. Nothing. I had Splinter Cell Blacklist in 13, and nothing since. Zip, nada, nothing. You know, I tend to have a weekly rant about Ubisoft when it comes to Splinter Cell because I play a lot of Splinter Cell games, or I should say Ubisoft games. I'd like to play more Splinter Cell games, but I don't bloody have them. But look, I tend to whine. I tend to have like a little rant about Splinter Cell every week. Yeah, I'm gonna go apocalyptic.
I'll be tuning in, brother.
Unfortunately, the show's having to be moved till tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Logan
Did I
can't
know
make
that?
it, and yeah, only just found out. And plus, I'm not actually feeling well at the minute. So, yeah, it's going to be 6 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. All things Xbox podcast on the Elusive Gamer YouTube channel. It's always a fun time over there. There's no doom and gloom. There's no Xbox is dead, any of that type of stuff. And I hope people enjoy the show. But yeah, that's 6 p.m. Eastern tomorrow on the Elusive Gamer YouTube channel. And I do Twitter, which is also Jamie Man UK, and that's exclusively gaming and jokes.
Indeed, sir. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for hanging out with us for a little over an hour and a half. Wow, I didn't realize that we were going that long. But you know what? If you had a fun time hanging out in the chat, hit the like button on your way out the door. Again, share this on the socials, and if you're not already subscribed, please consider subscribing. So, of course, for Jamie Moran and myself, I'm going to wish everyone a good day. Enjoy gaming on whatever console you enjoy gaming, and of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that's incredibly important to me. Hopefully one day, ladies and gentlemen, it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Factor Podcast.